Stranger Things is a show about friendship, love, and survival, but it is also a story about loss. For every character who lives to fight another day, there are others who do not make it out alive. Some of their deaths shocked us, others devastated us, and a few even felt unfair. But together they remind us that Hawkins is not a safe place. The Upside Down leaves scars, and one of the biggest scars is the trail of characters we have lost along the way. Today we will walk through every major character who has been killed off in Stranger Things. Each one had a story, a role to play, and a death that still matters in the world of the show. The first death that hits us comes in Season 1 with Benny Hammond. Benny is not a central character, but his death sets the tone for everything that follows. Benny owns a small diner called Benny's Burgers. He represents the normal side of Hawkins. A man going about his life, running his business, and not caught up in anything strange. That changes when Eleven escapes from Hawkins' lab and wanders into his diner. At first, Benny catches her stealing food, but instead of reacting with anger, he treats her with compassion. He feeds her, gives her shelter, and tries to reach out to her. His kindness makes him one of the first people outside the lab to see Eleven as a child rather than an experiment. But Benny's trust costs him his life. When he contacts social services to help her, Hawkins' lab agents trace the call. They arrive at the diner and murder him. To cover their tracks, they stage his death as a suicide. This moment is brutal because it shows the ruthlessness of Dr. Brenner and his team. They are willing to eliminate anyone who stands in their way, even a man who only wanted to help. Benny's death is also significant for Eleven. He is the first person outside the lab to treat her with kindness, and losing him so quickly underscores the danger of her world. For viewers, Benny is remembered as a tragic figure. His murder is one of the first shocks of the series, and it proves that no one in Hawkins is safe once the lab gets involved. Barbara Holland. Next is Barbara Holland, or Barb, one of the most memorable deaths in the entire series. Barb is Nancy Wheeler's best friend, introduced in Season 1. She is loyal, cautious, and protective, always looking out for Nancy. When Nancy starts spending more time with Steve Harrington, Barb is uneasy. She warns Nancy about getting involved with him and about making choices she might regret. This protective instinct is what costs her in the end. While Nancy sneaks off with Steve, Barb is left alone by the pool. That is when the Demogorgon appears and drags her into the Upside Down. Barb's disappearance is not immediately explained, and this created one of the biggest fan movements in Stranger Things history. Justice for Barb became a rallying cry. Viewers were shocked that such a loyal, relatable character could be taken away so suddenly. Later, Eleven has a vision of Barb's body, confirming she is dead. Season 2 shows the fallout of her death, with Nancy and Barb's parents still grieving.
Something happened. Something terrible.
Her absence drives Nancy's investigation into Hawkins' lab and helps push the larger story forward. Barb's death matters because it is both personal and symbolic. On a personal level, she represents the friend who was left behind, the person who cared but was ignored. On a larger scale, she reminds viewers that the Upside Down does not only target the main characters. Anyone can be taken. Even though her time on screen was short, Barb's impact was massive. She became a cultural symbol of overlooked characters, and her death remains one of the most talked about moments in the show. Dr. Martin Brenner, known to Eleven as Papa, is one of the most unsettling figures in Stranger Things. His death comes much later in Season 4, but his presence casts a shadow across the entire series. As the head of Hawkins' lab, Brenner is responsible for the unethical experiments that created Eleven and the other numbered children. He raises Eleven, not as a daughter, but as a test subject. He uses manipulation, control, and psychological pressure to bend her to his will. For years, fans debated whether Brenner was still alive after the Demogorgon attack in Season 1. He finally reappears in Season 4, revealed to have survived. He brings Eleven back into the lab, telling her it is the only way for her to regain her powers.
Are you up for some more lessons?
What makes Brenner so disturbing is the way he convinces himself he is helping. He claims to love Eleven, to protect her even as he locks her in rooms, pushes her to her limits, and demands obedience. His twisted version of love makes him one of the darkest villains in the series. His final moment comes when the military storms the lab in Season 4. Brenner is shot and mortally wounded. Before he dies, he tries to justify his actions to Eleven. He wants her to forgive him, to see him as a protector, but she refuses to give him the absolution he craves. She acknowledges control, but denies him love. Brenner's death is important because it ends the story of one of the show's most human villains. Unlike the monsters from the Upside Down, Brenner is a man who chose cruelty. His death is not triumphant, but it does give Eleven a sense of closure. Bob Newby Season 2 introduces us to Bob Newby, and his death is one of the most heartbreaking in Stranger Things. Bob is Joyce Byers' boyfriend, a kind and earnest man who represents stability and hope for her family. Bob works at Radio Shack and has a simple, almost goofy personality. He cares deeply for Joyce and her sons, and his relationship with them provides moments of warmth in a season filled with darkness. He is the first man in Joyce's life since their separation who treats her with respect and kindness. What makes Bob special is that he is normal. He is not a fighter, a scientist, or a superhero. He is just a man who loves Joyce and wants to help. That makes his death all the more tragic. When the Hawkins lab becomes overrun with demodogs, Bob steps up.
Listen, don't wait for me.
Despite his fear, he uses his knowledge of the lab's systems to restore power and open the doors, giving Joyce, Hopper, and the kids a chance to escape. He succeeds, but on his way out he is attacked by the demodogs. Joyce watches in horror as Bob is killed right in front of her. Bob's death devastates the Byers family and the audience. He was pure, decent, and undeserving of such a fate. His loss underscores the danger of Hawkins' lab and reminds us that even good intentions and bravery are not enough to guarantee survival. For fans, Bob remains one of the most tragic deaths in the show. His sacrifice saved others, but his absence left a hole in Joyce's life and in the hearts of viewers. Billy Hargrove. Billy Hargrove's story is one of the most complicated in Stranger Things. Introduced in Season 2 as Max's abusive stepbrother, he quickly becomes one of the show's most hated characters. His violent temper, cruel behavior, and aggression toward both Max and Lucas made him difficult to watch. But Stranger Things does not leave Billy one-dimensional. In Season 3, his role changes when he becomes possessed by the Mind Flayer. Under its control, he kidnaps and infects townspeople, turning them into an army. His cruelty is magnified, and he becomes a terrifying threat. Yet Season 3 also reveals Billy's backstory. We learn about the abuse he suffered at the hands of his father and the trauma of losing his mother. This context adds depth, showing how pain shaped him into the person he became. Billy's death comes in the Season 3 finale. During the battle at Starcourt Mall, he briefly breaks free of the Mind Flayer's control. In a moment of redemption, he sacrifices himself to save Eleven and the others. He faces the Mind Flayer head-on, allowing the group the chance to strike back. For many fans, Billy's final act was powerful. It did not erase his past cruelty, but it showed that he was more than just a villain. His death is tragic because it came at the moment when he finally showed his humanity. Billy's arc is one of transformation from hated antagonist to tragic anti-hero. His loss hit hard because it was not only a physical death, but also the death of potential redemption, Alexei. In Season 3, Alexei is a minor character who quickly became a fan favorite. He is a Russian scientist forced to work on the machine that opens the gate to the Upside Down. Initially, he seems like just another pawn in the Russian operation, but his personality makes him unforgettable. Nicknamed Smirnov by Hopper, Alexei is curious, childlike, and genuinely kind. He loves simple pleasures like cherry Slurpees and carnival games. He is playful and lighthearted, a stark contrast to the danger surrounding him. Over time, he becomes an ally to the main group, helping them understand the Russian machine and how to stop it. Alexei's death is sudden and shocking. During the 4th of July fair, the Russian assassin Grigory shoots him. His life is ended at the very moment he begins to taste freedom and safety. His death is heartbreaking because he had no evil intent, no hidden agenda, and no enemies apart from circumstances beyond his control. Fans remember Alexei for his humor, innocence, and brief moments of joy. Losing him reminds viewers that Stranger Things is willing to remove even the most beloved characters without warning. His death adds weight to the stakes in Season 3, showing that not everyone will survive regardless of kindness or loyalty. Heather Holloway. Heather Holloway is introduced in Season 3 as a lifeguard at the Hawkins community pool. She seems minor at first, but her fate ties directly into the Mind Flayer's growing influence. After Billy becomes possessed, he kidnaps Heather and infects her, making her part of the Mind Flayer's army. She loses her free will, acting as an agent of destruction against her own town. Heather's story demonstrates the horror of the Mind Flayer's control. Ordinary people become weapons, without understanding what is happening to them. Heather's final moments occur when the Mind Flayer sacrifices its army to form a physical body for the Starcourt Mall battle. Heather, along with dozens of other innocents, is consumed. Her death, like many in Hawkins, is both terrifying and sad, because it emphasized the indiscriminate nature of the Upside Down's threat. Heather is remembered for her role in showing the human cost of supernatural events. Even minor characters are at risk, and Stranger Things does not shy away from showing how ordinary lives are impacted by extraordinary forces. Eddie Munson. Eddie Munson's story in Season 4 is one of the most emotionally powerful arcs. Eddie is the leader of the Hellfire Club, the group of Dungeons & Dragons players in Hawkins High. He is theatrical, eccentric, and misunderstood, giving the show a mix of humor, charm, and pathos. Eddie is framed for the death of Chrissy Cunningham, leading the town to turn against him. Despite this, he remains loyal and courageous, choosing to help fight Vecna rather than run away. He becomes essential to the group's survival, acting as a bridge between the main kids and the supernatural threat. Eddie's defining moment is his final stand in the Upside Down. He lures the Demobats away by playing Metallica's Master of Puppets on his guitar. The scene is iconic because it blends suspense, music, and heroism. Eddie holds off the Demobats to give the others a chance to escape, but he is ultimately overwhelmed. His death is tragic for several reasons. He was young, misunderstood, and just beginning to find his place in Hawkins. He showed bravery and loyalty without expecting recognition. Fans mourned Eddie because his personality was magnetic, and he was taken before his story could fully unfold. Eddie's legacy remains strong. He is remembered as a symbol of courage, individuality, and the often unfair nature of life in Hawkins. His death also sets the stage for themes of sacrifice and friendship in the latter half of Season 4. Jason Carver is introduced in Season 4 as the archetypal high school golden boy. He is charismatic, athletic, and outwardly perfect. However, following the death of his girlfriend Chrissy, Jason becomes consumed by vengeance and paranoia. He becomes obsessed with the idea that the Hellfire Club and Eddie Munson are part of a satanic cult. His fear and ignorance escalate, leading him to rally others in town against perceived threats. Jason's actions highlight the danger of blind moral crusades and mob mentality. Despite his outward confidence, Jason is reactive rather than reflective. He fails to grasp the supernatural reality unfolding in Hawkins. Instead of helping, he obstructs the group's plan to defeat Vecna, creating tension and danger. Jason's death comes as a consequence of his recklessness. In trying to confront Vecna without understanding the stakes, he is killed in the Upside Down. His demise serves as both a plot device to clear the way for their protagonists and a cautionary tale. Fans often rank Jason as one of the most hated characters in the show. Unlike villains with tragic backstories, Jason's arrogance and ignorance make him a clear target for criticism. His death is seen as just and necessary to restore balance, illustrating the series' theme that actions have consequences. Chrissy Cunningham, the cheerleader from Hawkins High, has one of the most shocking deaths in Season 4. She is popular, confident, and outwardly perfect, but her vulnerability is revealed when Vecna begins targeting her. Chrissy experiences hallucinations and visions, which build tension as viewers realize something supernatural is at play.
Do you ever feel like you're losing your mind?
Despite her attempts to fight back, she becomes Vecna's first known victim of the season. Her death is violent and disturbing. Vecna drags her into the mindscape, and she is killed in a manner that is both horrifying and symbolic. Chrissy represents innocence and naivety in a world where danger lurks in every corner. Her death drives the plot, motivating Nancy, Dustin, and the rest of the group to understand Vecna's patterns. Chrissy's loss also serves as a warning to viewers. Anyone, no matter how popular or seemingly untouchable, can be claimed by the Upside Down. Angela appears in Season 4 as a minor yet memorable character. While Billy's death in Season 3 was already significant, the aftermath of his absence is equally impactful. Max Mayfield, his stepsister, struggles with grief, guilt, and anger throughout Season 4. Billy's abusive past complicates her feelings. She remembers the cruelty he inflicted, but also sees his brief act of heroism. Max's trauma highlights that deaths in Stranger Things are rarely simple. They affect those left behind emotionally and psychologically. Billy's absence also changes the dynamics within the group. Max becomes more protective of her friends, stepping into roles previously occupied by others. Her growth demonstrates how loss forces characters to adapt and evolve. The show uses Billy's death as a catalyst for Max's character development. It reinforces that even villains, when removed, leave ripples that shape the story and the emotional landscape of Hawkins. Dr. Owens' subplot. Dr. Owens is another scientist caught in the conflict between the Upside Down, the Russians, and the Hawkins heroes. While not killed in the show, his interactions with the deceased characters tie him to the tragic events that unfold. Owen's awareness of the lab's dark history, including Brenner's experiments, positions him as a morally ambiguous figure. He aids the protagonists at key moments but remains cautious, knowing that any intervention could result in death. His subplot emphasizes that not all deaths are random. Many, like Bob Newby's and Alexi's, occur due to human error, misjudgment, or the calculated actions of others. Owen stands as a reminder that choices, timing, and context are crucial in Hawkins' dangerous world. Susie and other minor victims. Susie, Dustin's long-distance girlfriend, survives the events of Season 3, but the show frequently reminds viewers that Hawkins is filled with characters whose fates are sealed by the Upside Down. Other minor victims include townspeople, students, and lab personnel. They may only appear briefly on screen, but each contributes to the series' tension. These deaths are crucial for world building. They show that Hawkins is not a safe, isolated bubble. Threats are ever present, and even ordinary citizens can be caught in the chaos. Their stories, while less detailed, underline the same themes seen in the main character deaths: heroism, sacrifice, our fear, and loss. Stranger Things balances the focus on core characters with the reality that ordinary lives are vulnerable in extraordinary circumstances. Looking at every killed-off character in Stranger Things, several patterns emerge. First, the series does not spare anyone, from main characters like Billy and Bob to minor figures like Connie and Heather. Death is random, sudden, and sometimes unfair, reflecting the chaos introduced by the Upside Down. Second, the deaths serve narrative purposes. They motivate surviving characters, push plot lines forward, and highlight the dangers of Hawkins. For example, Barb's death drives Nancy to investigate, Bob's death propels Joyce into action, and Eddie's death inspires the final showdown against Vecna. Third, Stranger Things often explores human versus supernatural threats. Characters like Angela, Jason, and Billy represent human cruelty, ignorance, or obsession. Their deaths show that danger does not always come from monsters alone. Finally, the series uses death to explore growth, trauma, and resilience. Max's response to Billy's death, Eleven's confrontation with Brenner, and the group's reaction to Eddie and Heather demonstrate how surviving characters are shaped by loss. Fans are drawn to Stranger Things, not just for the supernatural battles, but for these emotional stakes. Each death is carefully crafted to resonate with viewers, creating a sense of realism and investment in the story. In a show like Stranger Things, death is more than a plot device. It establishes stakes, develops characters, and deepens the emotional impact. Each killed-off character, whether a hero, villain, or a minor figure, contributes to the tapestry of Hawkins. For main characters, deaths are often moments of sacrifice or turning points in the narrative. Bob Newby, Billy Hargrove, and Eddie Munson all exemplify this. Their actions before dying reflect courage, loyalty, and complex morality. For villains, death delivers consequences. Brenner, Jason Carver, and Angela show that actions have repercussions. They also reinforce that evil, whether human or supernatural, meets resistance and ultimate judgment. Minor character deaths like Heather and Connie serve to build tension and remind the audience that no one is safe. These deaths prevent the story from becoming predictable and maintain suspense. The deaths in Stranger Things have sparked extensive discussion among fans. Online forums, social media, and fan sites are filled with debates over who was killed too soon, who deserved their fate, and how each death affected the story. Barb's death led to a viral movement influencing writers to address fan concerns and ensure the character's loss had narrative significance. Bob Newby's death became an emotional touchpoint, with fans praising his selflessness. Eddie Munson's demise inspired tributes, fan art, and even cosplay. Even minor characters generate conversations. Fans analyze Heather, Connie, and other casualties to explore the dangers of Hawkins. These discussions show the depth of engagement Stranger Things has created. The deaths are not just plot points, but cultural moments that resonate beyond the screen. Stranger Things is a series about the extraordinary colliding with the ordinary. It tells a story of friendship, bravery, and the supernatural, but it never softens the impact of loss. Every killed-off character adds weight to the world of Hawkins, making it feel dangerous, unpredictable, and alive. These deaths remind viewers that even in a story filled with heroes, monsters, and psychic powers, mortality remains a powerful narrative force. Characters live, struggle, and sacrifice. Their deaths leave scars, shape surviving characters, and create lasting memories for fans. From Benny Hammond to Eddie Munson, from Bob Newby to Barbara Holland, every loss in Stranger Things is felt deeply. Each death teaches us about courage, consequence, and the human experience, in a town where the Upside Down is always waiting. Stranger Things balances life and death, light and darkness, love and loss. It is these choices, these consequences, and these moments of bravery and tragedy that make the series unforgettable. And as the story continues, viewers will always remember those who did not survive and the ways they changed the world around them. Outro that wraps up our list of every killed-off character in Stranger Things. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into Hawkins' mysteries, its heroes, and its villains. The Upside Down is full of surprises, but the lives lost there will never be forgotten. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, subscribe, and remember that in Hawkins, anyone can be claimed by the shadows.